All right. Hi, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. My name is Jen R. I am a recovered Al-Anon and will be leading this meeting. We want to welcome everyone to our Al-Anon Big Book Recovery meeting. This is a step speaker meeting that meets every Wednesday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, which is 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We will study the 12 steps by using the precise instructions out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous as they relate to us as Al-Anon. Let's get our meeting started. This is the original AA preamble written by the AA Grapevine describing the fellowship in 1940. We've studied a preamble with an open mind and open heart to consider how it applies to Al-Anon. This helps us to stay focused on the message of recovery the pioneers intended while observing the traditions in action. Through the actions taken based on the instructions of the basic text, we comprehend what the pioneers meant when they described the membership of AA, which is that they worked a program of recovery and they no longer drink. In our case, we no longer obsessed over the alcoholic. Through continuous action and study of these principles, the understanding of the value of the original preamble reveals itself. We ask for your humble consideration of our sincere admiration of the pioneers of Alcoholics Anonymous. The simple hope is that we of Al-Anon will grow into the same clarity and unity that birthed the original 12-step fellowship, because without them, after all, none of us would be here. So here it is, the original AA preamble. We are gathered here because we are faced with the fact that we are powerless over alcohol and unable to do anything about it without the help of a power greater than ourselves. We feel that each person's religious views, if any, are his own affair. The simple purpose of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is to show what may be done to enlist the aid of a power greater than ourselves, regardless of what our individual conception of that power may be. In order to form a habit of depending upon and referring all we do to that power, we must at first apply ourselves with some diligence. By often repeating these acts, they become habitual, and the help rendered becomes natural to us. We have come to know that as alcoholics, we suffer from a serious disease for which medicine has no cure. Our condition may be the result of an allergy which makes us different from other people. It has never been permanently cured by any treatment, with which we are familiar. The only relief we have to offer is absolute abstinence, the second meaning of AA. There are no dues or fees. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. Each member squares his debt by helping others to recover. An Alcoholics Anonymous member is an alcoholic who, through the application of and adherence to the AA program, has forsworn the use of any and all alcoholic beverages in any form. The moment he takes so much as a drop of beer, wine, spirits, or any other liquid containing alcohol, he automatically loses all status as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. AA is not interested in sobering up drunks who are not sincere in their desire to stay sober for all time. Not being reformers, we offer our experience only to those who want it. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and on which we can join in harmonious action. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our program. Those who do not recover are people who will not or simply cannot give themselves to this simple program. Now, you may like our program or you may not, but the simple fact remains that it works and we believe is our only chance to recover. There is a vast amount of fun included in the AA fellowship. Some people might be shocked at our seeming worldliness and levity, but just underneath there lies a deadly earnestness and a full realization that we must put first things first, and with each of us, the first thing is the solution to our alcoholic problem. To drink is to die. Faith must work 24 hours a day in it and through us, or we perish. In order to set the tone for the meeting, I ask that we bow our heads in a few moments of silent prayer and meditation, followed by the Serenity Prayer. Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I wish to remind you, thy will, not mine, be done. Pardon me. I wish to remind you that whatever is said at this meeting expresses our own individual opinion as of today and as of up to this moment. We do not speak for AA as a whole, and you are free to agree or disagree as you see fit. In fact, it is suggested that you pay no attention to anything which might not be reconciled with what is in the AA Big Book. If you don't have a Big Book, it is time you bought one. Read it, study it, live with it. Follow directions in it and learn what it means to be an AA. That is the end of the preamble. All right. A sponsor is anyone who's had a psychic change as a result of working the steps and has a willingness to work with others. For those looking for a sponsor to guide them through the steps, please stay tuned and have your pens ready to record phone numbers immediately after the meeting. Each Al-Anon group ought to be a spiritual entity having but one primary purpose, that of carrying the message to the Al-Anon lepers. This is our primary spiritual aim. Our job as a group is to provide people with a place to learn about and work the steps. It's been our experience that working the steps consistently provides us with a better inner life. We consider all else to be an outside issue. This includes personal problems. The proper venue for sharing such problems is with the sponsor. This is, after all, where real recovery takes place and working the steps with the sponsor. We are just so glad we are all here, and we are all here because we are not all there. There will be a period of fellowship after the meeting. If you have questions, if you need a sponsor, if you need to check in or get current, or you want to discuss other literature, please stick around for the fellowship. That would be a better time for these subjects. Okay, so this is my last Wednesday of the month and of doing this particular month of September 2024 step study. I don't know, maybe I'll do another one in the future, but this is the last one of this month, and we're going to cover steps 10, 11, and 12, which is really exciting because it's the steps that I live in every single day that I've been living in for, I don't know, 7-something years, 7.5 years or something like that at this point, which is really amazing because it works when we continue to do the next right thing and when we follow this program precisely as it's outlined. Okay, so there's a lot of hope to be offered and to get. I want to just quickly, because there's so much to cover, especially when we talk about step 12, but there's so much to cover tonight, and I want to just do a really brief overview of where we've been for the last 3 weeks, okay? So the first time we met, we talked about step 1, which is we admitted that we are powerless over alcohol and that our lives have become unmanageable. So how am I, as an Al-Anon, powerless over alcohol? So if I'm not an alcoholic, when I take a couple drinks, what happens to my body, what happens to my thinking is I start feeling out of control. I start feeling a little wobbly, a little woozy, and, I say things like, oh, I've had enough, or, oh, I think I need to sit down, or I think I need to drink some water, or I shouldn't be driving, right? We start to recognize that there's something in our brains just aren't quite the way that they typically work, right? Maybe not, our reflexes aren't quite quick enough or something. When an alcoholic takes some drinks, what happens, and we read about in the doctor's opinion, is that there's an allergy or an abnormal reaction. So it's making the alcoholic want the second drink more than the first, and the third more than the second, and then, who knows, maybe they're on to number 10, right? They're taking in so much more than perhaps as a non-alcoholic I could, right? And so what happens is the promises that were given in this book, and we talked about, the 9-step promises. And, we talked about we're not going to regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We'll comprehend the word serenity. We'll know peace. So when an alcoholic drinks, what's happening is that, unlike me, who's starting to feel out of control and woozy and I need to stop, they're starting to feel in control, right? No matter how far down the scale they've gone, they'll see that their experience can benefit others. Their feeling of uselessness disappears, right? They're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness, okay? They're going to be amazed before they're halfway through tonight, right? So they're getting something from this, okay? And so an alcoholic is reacting differently to alcohol. They're feeling more and more in control. Almost every alcoholic in their cups that I've known, likes to say that they're the best driver out there, right? There's whatever, right? So there's a feeling of more control, okay? There's a feeling of problems, ease and comfort coming at once when they start taking those drinks. So I don't have that same body thing going on, right? That same abnormal reaction or that phenomenon of craving that's developing with alcohol, where alcohol is concerned. But what I do share with the alcoholic is this powerless over alcohol where my thinking is concerned. So chapter 3 tells us that the crux of my problem, right, is our thinking. So for the alcoholic, even though alcohol is a mind-altering, chemically addictive substance, the biggest problem, the crux of the problem, is not the bottle. It's not the alcohol itself. The crux of the problem is, right, the thinking, that mental state before that first drink. Because the mental state before the first drink is the alcoholic stone cold sober, okay, before that first drink. So what is it that's going on in their thinking that says, hey, guess it's going to be okay to have another one? What's wrong with my thinking, right, when I say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to mention going to AA, to the alcoholic again. I'm just going to drive by the bar and see if they're still there. I'm just going to, send a text and call and just make sure that, they made it home safely because, they were drinking a lot. Or I'm just going to hide the alcohol. I'm just going to, all the things that we've done, right? And so I'm powerless over alcohol because the alcohol's powerless over it. So if they're powerless over it and I'm obsessing over them, I'm totally also, right, powerless over the alcohol, right, and its effects and its impact. Okay, so there's no way that I have the power to help an alcoholic, right, in the way that I, as an Al-Anon, I think that I can, right? I think that I can tell them things like, you know what, just stop, or just have one or two, or if you really love the family, like all this kind of fluffy, frothy emotional appeal that we do, right? I don't have that kind of power. So I need to understand that I am powerless over this thing, and then my life has become unmanageable because I can no longer manage the decision to stay stopped. And stopped from what? Not drinking, but stay stopped from meddling and controlling and getting all up in the business and trying to fix the alcoholic in my life, whatever that looks like, okay? Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Okay. Step 3, I made a decision to turn my will, which is my thinking, and my life, which is my actions, over to the care of God as I understood Him. Then we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So we're really looking at diagnosing the problem, being honest. Okay, in step 4. Step 5, I admitted to God, to myself, and to another human being, my sponsor, right, the exact nature of my wrongs. Okay. Step 6, I was entirely ready to have God remove all of my defects of character. So I got ready, right, willing. Step 7, in a prayer, I humbly asked God humbly asked Him to remove my shortcomings. Okay. Last week, we got into 8 and 9. So step 8 was made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Okay. So I'm going out and I'm making amends, and we talked a lot about that last week. And if you want to hear more about, what it looks like when we make amends and how do we make amends and following this program, you can certainly listen into that one. So all of that brings us to step 10. Okay. So on page 84, it says, this thought brings us to step 10. And I'm going to read step 10 real quick. Step 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So I'm going to take inventory just like I did in step 4, and I'm going to admit that I'm wrong promptly, like an amend, like I did in step 9, okay? This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. Why do we do this? Because otherwise what would happen is I would wait a year or 2 years or whatever it might be and have all this built up resentment, all this built up stuff, and I don't even know that I could wait 1 or 2 years, right? I would just be right back out there. So it's almost like doing a mini 4 through 9 every single day, right, when I'm taking inventory of myself in step 10. It says, we vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. That means I'm going to start living in step 10 as I'm continuing to make my amends, okay? We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. I have to grow in understanding. I need to understand what's going on with me. I need to understand what's going on with the alcoholic. Okay, and I need to be effective. Okay, so effective in what? Effective in looking out for my defects, effective in understanding and implementing this program, effective in carrying this message. Okay, this is not an overnight matter. So I did not become effective or am most effective now. No, it doesn't happen overnight. It says it should continue for our lifetime. When do I graduate my 12-step program? It just told me. It continues for my lifetime. I do not graduate this 12-step program. I continue to watch for selfishness. So here it's telling me exactly what I do in a step 10. I'm going to continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Selfishness. Ooh, there's so many things I can list here, but I'm trying to get my way. I don't like how someone else is acting. I want to take more than my fair share. I just want my way. I want to go out to eat here, not where the family wants. I want to take a break when it's not appropriate to do so with the family, whatever it might be. Dishonest. Okay, so that should be pretty clear, right, when I'm not telling the truth, but also when I'm omitting information. That's also dishonesty. Resentment, right? I'm angry, I'm annoyed, I'm mad, I'm pissed off, whatever it is, right, at someone. And fear, right? I have fear that my boss is going to pop in and, yell at me. I have fear that I'm going to lose my job. I have fear, whatever the fear is, right? Well, where is that coming from? Am I doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, right? Am I being selfish? Am I being dishonest? Right? Where's the resentment? All that kind of stuff, okay? When these crop up, not if, when, because they're going to come up, we ask God to remove them at once. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. Right away. So if I, yelled at my spouse about something, right, I'm going to pause. I'm going to ask God to remove whatever defect's going on with me, because if I'm yelling and I'm all in it, something's the matter with me. I'm disturbed in some way, okay? I'm going to let my sponsor know what's going on, okay? I'm going to make amends immediately, okay? So I need to apologize to my spouse. And then I'm going to, what does it say to do next, okay? We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. I need to resolutely turn my thoughts to someone I can help. So I need to start thinking now, who can I be helpful to? How can I be helpful? Instead of being stuck in, oh my gosh, I can't believe that my spouse did that and said that and acted like that today and I'm just so annoyed. How can I be helpful? Oh, you know what? Maybe my spouse needs some time away from the kids. Maybe, right, there's a newcomer who called me and I need to call them back. Maybe there's a meeting that I need to carry a message on. Maybe, the neighbor's sick and I need to get soup, whatever. I need to go out and I need to be helpful. Okay. In the beginning, I'm going to be super helpful where it comes to program, but as I continue and grow and understanding and effectiveness, I need to be helpful and practice these principles in all of my affairs, everywhere I'm at. So I need now I'm not just turning my thoughts like, oh, how can I be helpful? I need to turn my thoughts to that and I'm going to do that thing, right? That's making me helpful. And love and tolerance. Okay. So yeah, you know what? That driver pissed me off on the road, whatever it might be. That person's, voice annoys me, the way that they talk about themselves. Oh, they seem so, okay. All this stuff, right? We all have it. Love and tolerance are now my code. Okay. So I'm going to have love for them, ask God to help me with that, and I'm going to ask God to help me tolerate whatever's going on. Okay. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is a proper use of the will. Pretty amazing promise. that now we can start implementing our willpower as long as I've asked God for direction and to direct it first, right? Then I can start implementing it, okay? God's will, right? Thy will, not mine, be done, okay? Remember, it was agreed, right, that we'd be willing to go to any lengths to recover, okay? So I'm not going to get my way anymore. And it talks about resting on our laurels. This is really scary, especially, the more years that we're doing this. At least I found, our lives get really busy and really full because now we're actually available for that to happen. So, all the stress and worry and anxiety and, all that stuff that would fill my mind, before I got recovered in Al-Anon, that took up so much time and so much effort, in trying to fix the alcoholic in my life and trying to, make sure that she got, passed her classes and, that she was safe and didn't, get her car towed or impounded or, didn't get arrested or, showed up at her, her whatever, court date or whatever it was. All of that took a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort trying to fix and control and manage my own life, but also somebody else's life. Okay. That was a full-time job. And so I wasn't there for a good relationship with someone. I wasn't there for, to be a mom to my kids. I wasn't there. Okay. And so what happens is once we recover, our lives do get busy, right? We start sponsoring people. Maybe we, see that God's path is to, work at this other job or, now maybe we're, putting more effort into our work as well. We're spending time with the kids and with our spouse. I had 3 kids, since, getting recovered. And so I have these, 3 little kids and, it's a lot, right? And so we can easily, go, oh my gosh, well now God, I have all this other stuff that you've given me to do. And I can't, help your children in Al-Anon, right? And the book warns us about this, okay? It's telling us I can't rest on my laurels. And that really means like, oh, well, I know the program. I still need to carry this message to newcomers. I still need to be available to sponsor. I still need to find ways in which I talk about, my recovery in Al-Anon. How do I share that? Who knows? How am I getting this message out there? And so I need to continue to do this as well as my 10 steps, as well as my 11th step. And, step 12 is all about carrying this message. So I need to continue to do these things. Okay. I'm going to move on to step 11. It says sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only not for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. So it's talking about prayer and meditation, 2 different things, okay? When I'm praying, I'm asking God for things. When I'm meditating, or I'm thanking God for things. When I'm meditating, I'm listening, okay? So, I couldn't really even sit still for like 5 minutes when I first got into program. And, my sponsor told me I needed to pray and meditate in the morning. And, I read about it and, I was reading the pages like 86 through 88 every morning in the big book and, upon awakening and all the stuff that I do. And, I really had a hard time just being still and quiet, so I would read and that was kind of it. And so since, I've practiced, right? Because sometimes we need to practice. This is not necessarily going to come natural to people to sit and listen to what God might have for us. So I practice this, right, with guidance of my sponsor and, and guidance of God, right? How can I do this thing? And there's lots of, books out there, and the book tells us, right? We can look to clergy, we can look to other books and religion and spiritual guides and things like this, to learn and to improve upon our, 11-step practice, our prayer meditation ultimately with God. And so, what used to be 5 minutes, I could sit still for even an hour at different times when I had that type of time. I don't have that time all the time anymore, right? But, it's what used to be maybe, 5 minutes is now 15, 20 minutes in the morning, okay, where I can sit still and I can ask God and I can listen for, what God would have me do. And it's amazing when I stop all the talking and just, ask God to help me listen, what comes through. So intuition comes through. And it's not just, all that chatter, we can actually get quiet. And it does take practice and time, but we can do that. So, I'm going to talk about the morning first, and then I'm going to go to the night. Okay. So on awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Okay. I'm just thinking about the 24 hours ahead. I'm not thinking about, in 2 months that it's going to be, the holidays and I need to get this and that and how am I going to do this and how is it? I'm thinking about the 24 hours ahead because that's really all my head can even do. Okay. We're going to consider our plans for the day. What's going on? Okay. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking. God, please direct my thinking, especially asking that it be divorced. God, please divorce my thinking from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can apply our mental faculties with assurance. For after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed in a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. God, please help remove my thinking of wrong motives, right? In thinking about our day, we may face a decision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Okay? It's true. There might be indecision, right? Indecisiveness. We don't know what's going on. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we've tried this for a while. So it's pretty cool. We are surprised how the right answers come after we've tried this for a while. The right answers might not come right away. Okay? The answers might not come right away. Intuition might not come right away. If I don't have an answer for something, I'm just going to do what the book tells me, which is relax and take it easy. I'm not going to struggle. If I'm struggling, it's a sign that I'm somehow in self-will and in collision with what God would have me do. Okay, so if God hasn't provided an answer, I don't know what to do about something, I'm just going to sit with it. Okay, there's no answer. Okay, that's okay. I don't need an answer for everything in this moment. Do I have everything I need in this moment right now to be okay? Right? I have a roof over my head, I have food, I have clothing, I have whatever it is, right? I have God, even if I don't have all those things. Do I have enough of those things or enough things, right? Or whatever it is that I need to move forward in this moment. And the answer is yes. In this moment, I am okay, right? So it's okay if I don't have answers. On page 87 to 88, it says, we usually conclude, so before I read this part, we usually conclude the period of meditation. I actually meditate. Again, that means to listen to what God would have me do. Okay, so I'm going to conclude the period of meditation with a prayer. Okay, so I'm going to pray this, that I be showed all through the day what my next step is to be. God, show me all through the day what my next step is to be. That I be given, I'm saying it how I would ask God, right? I'm asking you, God, please give me whatever I need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will. Please free me from self-will and are careful to make no requests for ourselves only. Okay, so I can ask for things, it tells me here, however, if others will be helped. So I'm no longer to pray for my own selfish ends. God, please let me have this new car. Okay. If my family needs a vehicle, right, please God help us to get a vehicle that works for everyone. Okay. If I'm going to even pray for something like that, right? But to pray just for myself, right? It doesn't work. It's like praying to Santa Claus or something, okay? We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, right? Have we not? And it doesn't work. You can easily see why, okay? Well, because again, it's that thing that my grand sponsor said, right? God, right, I'm going to do all this, right? If you solve all my problems, right, I'm going to do whatever you want me to do. But if I fail, right, in that relationship, You're gonna remove this exchange, right? You're gonna take away this thing. Okay? So I can ask for God to help me with things. But I'm gonna, that's be asking for help with, to be helpful to others. Otherwise, right? That's just a selfish request, and that's not, that's not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is being useful and helpful to others. Okay, just want to do a quick check on where we're at. Okay, great. You have time. Okay. As we go through the day, okay, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. How many times have I just had diarrhea of the mouth, right? Someone says something to me and there's literally no pause. It's just like, and I'm just barking right back at you. I should have made that noise. Tickle my throat. I'm going to pause. And this pausing is really, really helpful, okay? Because a lot of times, if I'm just responding, right, like a reaction, I'm not including what God would have me do. So if I pause, this is actually giving me time to do a 10-step, okay? I'm going to pause. I'm going to ask God, you know what? I'm feeling really annoyed. Can you please remove this annoyance for me? I can't believe that my spouse did this thing or that my boss did this thing and, blah, blah. And, oh man, I said something I shouldn't have said. I need to make an amends for that. And, I'm going to go be helpful and useful to someone. Okay. I'm going to pause. Okay. That means I need to connect with God. And I don't need to always just respond like, yappity yap, like I'm a chihuahua. Okay. It says I'm going to pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. Okay. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. It is no longer the Jen show, you guys. Humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. Right? We are then in much less danger of excitement. Because excitement can be bad too. It sounds, it's, I'm so excited. But really excited for something to happen my way, that can kind of end up in a disastrous way as well. Fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. I'm going to make a foolish decision if I rush into it, right? We become much more efficient. Imagine that. If I told you every single thing I did today from 5 o'clock when I woke up or 4:50 or whatever, awful hour it was that I woke up, and my kids and my work and then my kids again and now on this meeting, right? I mean, and other things and, just whatever. All the stuff we've done today and the workout and this and that, anyone, not just me, right? Become so much more efficient. I cannot imagine all the stuff that I was able to do today, without barking at anyone, without yelling at anyone, without, trying to fix anyone or make them do what I want them to do, accepting things that didn't go my way today, which happened, right? I didn't have support like I normally do at work, and a kid that didn't want to do it was just a day, right? It was one of those days, and it was okay because it was exactly how God would have had it be, right? And I did my very best, and that's all we can do. But in the past, I would have been just absolutely distraught. I would have not done all this. I would have had to cancel this meeting. Gosh knows I couldn't have done all that. I would have, probably yelled at my kids and, it gives us so much more, okay, when we're not living in a place of trying to get, okay? We do not tire so easily, okay? I am tired, but I do have 3 small children, okay? For we are not, but I'm not tiring from trying to run the show. I'm literally just physically tired from, having little kids. For we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. How tiring was it to try to get the alcoholic to do what I wanted, to get my boss to do what I wanted, to get everyone, my mom, I did this to my mom, my brother, everyone. Okay. And I do want to come back to what do I do at night? So every night, in the morning, I'm reading this in the morning, okay? I'm asking God to direct my thinking, considering my day, doing some meditation, and then throughout the day, right, I'm working at step 10, And anytime something agitates me, right, my resentment, fear, dishonesty, selfishness pops up, I'm asking God. So here I am again talking to God, right, asking God for something. Okay, so I'm in the morning, I have my prayer. Throughout the day, I have my prayer. And then at night, okay, what do I do at night? Excuse me. What do I do at night? Well, as the book tells me, when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? It sounds much like our 10 steps. How we kept something to ourselves that should be discussed with another person at once. So did I miss a 10 step, right? Were we kind and loving toward all? Was I kind of a jerk, or, did I practice, love and tolerance, okay? What could we have done better? It's always something I could have done better, right? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Okay, was I living in self? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack in the stream of life? So was I living in the stream of life, or was I living mostly in self-will today? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection. Oh man, I can't believe I'm such an awful person. I'm just so awful. Gosh, why, God, why do you do this? No, who am I thinking about? I'm thinking about myself. Okay, that's selfishness, just a different little form there. For that would diminish our usefulness to others. Okay, if I'm stuck in myself, worry, remorse, whatever it might be, I am no longer useful to others. Okay, after making our review, we ask God's forgiveness. God, please forgive me. And ask, right, what corrective measures should be taken? Who am I asking this to? I'm asking this to God, right? Okay. So some of us send our 11 steps to our sponsors. That's how I do that. I type it out and I send it to my sponsor. It's really, kind of an accountability thing, right, where I'm actually doing this. Okay. And then, if there was something that I needed to discuss with her that I didn't, I would, write that in there as well. Okay. And then I send that off to her. Okay. Some people, it doesn't tell us exactly, how we're sharing this. But that's been my experience, and that's, worked well. So I'm going to move on to step 12 because there's a lot here and I want to spend some time. Okay. So step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics. For me, try to carry this message to Al-Anon. Okay, excuse me. Really should have brought some water today. Apologize. And to practice these principles in all our affairs. 3 parts here to step 12. And I can't really do the last 2 parts if I don't have the first part going on. The first part is having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. So I'm not going to carry this message. I'm not going to try to sponsor anyone. I don't really even need to be, sharing at meetings, what's going on with me if I haven't had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. So what on earth, right, is a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience? So the book talks about it. It is basically a personality change, right? A change of heart and mind and attitude sufficient to recover, okay? Sufficient to remove the obsession, right? For the alcoholic to recover from alcoholism. For the Al-Anon, right, to remove the obsession, right, around the alcoholic, the alcohol, okay? To remove that obsession. So that's what a spiritual experience is. How did I get that? Well, I worked the steps with my sponsor precisely as they were outlined, right? I understand my powerlessness. I understand that I can't fix myself and I can't fix the other person, okay? I believe that God can, right? I took some steps to clear away the wreck of my past, right? All the, my resentments, my fears, my sex conduct, okay? I went out and I started repairing the damage in step 9, making direct amends. Every single day, I'm, taking inventory. Every single day, right, I'm praying and meditating. And through this process, right, I've had, by the time I get to step 12, a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Do I know that I've had a spiritual awakening? I might not. Okay. The book even says that sometimes, it's evident to others, right, long before the new person, right, the newcomer knows, right, that they've had a change of heart or mind or attitude, right, sufficient to recover. Okay. So I want to read more about what is a spiritual experience. Because in the beginning it seemed, especially like with Bill's experience, it was like this lightning bolt, right, just went off, and now he's, recovered. He was recovered. For Dr. Bob, it was much different. It was a kind of a slow kind of educational process, and that's okay too. Okay. I definitely was pretty stubborn myself, and so it did take a little while for me to kind of get it and to be working this program and with a willingness and a little better attitude than I started with. So I have to have a spiritual awakening. Okay. The next part is we try to carry this message. Okay. Trying to carry this message. So the reason it says try is because I can say, oh, I'm going and carrying a message, but try means that it's either going to hit or it's not going to hit, right? So I can carry a message. I can say all this stuff, and I can talk about, being in Al-Anon and recovering and, chasing around the alcoholic, and that I don't do all that stuff now. And I can carry a message talking about the big book. And, but I'm really just trying because I don't really know if it's going to hit. And I don't really know what's going to come out of my mouth most of the time. I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth tonight before I sat down. I just trust, right, that I've been working this program and working these steps, and, I do have a script and, some page numbers to look at. But I trust, right, that God's going to just handle the outcome because I can't really control that. And so, even if someone doesn't take our message and run with it, right, I've still tried, right? And then the last piece, okay, sometimes we forget about this because it's not just having a spiritual experience and carrying this message to other Al-Anons, right, who are still suffering. It's also to practice these principles in all our affairs. Well, darn it, I need to be kind and loving to my boss, right? I need to be kind and loving to, my neighbor. I need to practice these principles. Do I have to like everyone? I might not like everyone or like what everyone does to me or say, right? But, right, I am to treat everyone with love, okay, and patience and respect and tolerance, okay? It doesn't mean that people can walk all over me, right? But I do need to practice these principles. Now, funny, I don't know if funnily is a word. I don't think that's a word, but that's what I want to say. Strangely, that's the word I'll use. Strangely enough, right? It's actually a lot easier for me to be kind and loving when I'm, in an Al-Anon meeting with someone versus being kind and loving when my spouse is pissing me off, okay, or my kids are yelling at me or fighting with each other, okay? It's one thing to be in a 12-step meeting and to practice these principles, because we all know that we're supposed to be practicing these principles, right? So we're all trying. It's a whole other thing to practice these principles in all my affairs, okay? It's gotten so much better over the years. I don't have anything like road rage or, grocery lane rage or, all this stuff that I used to have. And I mean, man, I would turn all kinds of shades of red and flip people off and honk my horn and yell at people. And, I was just, it was some kind of interesting before here. But, I'm practicing these principles, okay, which, is part of, and a huge part, and also sometimes a lot harder to do. Okay. On page 89, it tells us, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking, or for us, our thinking, right, as intense work with other Al-Anons. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other, and I'm saying Al-Anons. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they are very ill. So, if I think about when I was in my illness, things that my mom would say to me, like, why don't you just leave her alone, you know, or my best friend, like, just like, you know, or anyone, right, a coworker, just, you know, like, doesn't sound like the best relationship for you, right, whatever it might be, okay, it didn't have depth and weight that it needed to have in order for me to hear them, right, and to take action. And they didn't really have a solution for me. Their solution was to stop, and I can't stop, right, on my own power. So it was like, well, then what do I do, right? Because I know that, and I wanted to stop for good and all. You know, I had a huge desire to do that, but I couldn't. And so it's really important to remember that when we're here, that carrying this message to someone who's thinking like, there's no way I can stop. How can I stop? It's my child. How can I stop? You know, it's my husband, my wife, my mom, my dad, like, you know, my granddaughter, like whatever it is, like, how can I stop? And they hear me, right, talking about, yeah, you can, right? You can be free and happy regardless of what that person is doing. Okay. We can help when no one else can. Okay, we secure their confidence because we've been where they were. Okay, it happens that because of your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. To cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim. Okay, my only aim is to be helpful. I don't need to cooperate, criticize, whatever. I need to cooperate. Excuse me. I don't need to criticize. Okay, I thought that sounded weird when I said it. So I'm cooperating with others, right? But I don't need to criticize what other people are doing, okay? I just need to be helpful, okay, however that looks. Page 90 says, when you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him. It's not my job to persuade you that you need to stop doing what you're doing, okay? If you are willing to go to any lengths because you are done, you are sick and tired of, right, doing what you're doing, right? I don't need to persuade you that you need to stop, okay? It says you may spoil a later opportunity. This is advice is given to his family also. They should be patient, realizing they're dealing with a sick person. Okay, again, I'm dealing with a sick person when I'm talking to a newcomer. Okay, we are sick as Al-Anon. Okay, I was also very, very sick when I got here. Okay, I am a very sick person. I have a daily reprieve, right? But that's contingent on the growth, right, of my spiritual practice, the growth and maintenance, right, of what's going on here. Me continuing to do the next right thing. Page 91 through 93 talks about when he sees you know all about the drinking game, okay, the Al-Anon game, right, our controlling stuff, commence to describe yourself as an Al-Anon. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggles you made to stop. So what things did I do to stop, right? Did I block this person? Did I swear him off? Did I write a letter and burn it and throw it in the toilet? Okay, did all these things. Did I do hypnotherapy? Okay. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree, or the mental twist which leads to that first of my mouth, right? We suggest you do this as we have done it in the chapter on alcoholism. So chapter 3 is great to go over with newcomers, okay? Talks all about the strange mental blank spot, especially as Al-Anons, all that stuff that we're doing, okay? Yoga classes, retreats, okay? If he is alcoholic or if they're Al-Anon, right, he will understand you at once. He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did do that after I said I wasn't going to do that. And then I did do that like 10 other times after I said no. Yeah, and then I blocked them and then I unblocked them and then I emailed instead and then I drove over there and I said I wasn't going to do that. And then, right? Oh, yeah. Right? My mental consistency, okay? Page 95, it says, you will be most successful with alcoholics, okay, with Al-Anon, if you do not exhibit any passion for crusade or reform, okay? I might be passionate about working the program, right, and sticking to what the original pioneers did and sticking to the big book, but I'm not going to have passion like for crusade or reform. So I don't have any, idea that alcohol needs to be, removed from the country, or, everyone who drinks should do this, or everyone who, is codependent, needs a program, or even everyone who's an Al-Anon. I mean, I don't need to have this, right? I never talk down to an alcoholic, right, or an Al-Anon from any moral or spiritual hilltop. How is that helpful, right? It's not. Simply lay out the kit of spiritual tools for his inspection. This is what I did, right? Spiritual tools, kit, whatever, okay? It's the 12 steps. Show him how they worked with you. Offer him friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you will do anything to help. Always tell the people, right, that I start to sponsor. Just like you, I am super busy. I got a lot going on. And I got screaming kids and things due at work and meetings and blah, blah, blah. I have all this stuff going on. Okay. But I will be there for you. And I will put as much effort into this program of recovery for you as you put in. So if you're calling me and I'm answering and you're showing up and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? I'm right there with you. Right? I'm 100% with you. Right? But if you're not really serious and you start doing your own thing, you don't really message me, you don't really call me, I don't hear from you, right? I'm not over here, trying to get you to do something. Okay? If you need me, you know where I'm at. Okay? It's kind of like the doctor. Doctor doesn't call me all the time and check in on me. Are you taking your pills? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Right? So I can't want it more than you. Okay? I'm just going to tell you what I did. And if you want it, right, great. If you don't, that's okay too. I'm here when you do decide that, okay? But it's true, I will do anything to help if you're 100% in and you're serious and you're doing the next right thing, okay? Page 96 says, do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Okay, so if, the person that we're trying to sponsor doesn't respond at once, okay, or trying to reach, it's okay. Search out another alcoholic or Al-Anon and try again. You are sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. To spend too much time on any one situation is to deny some other Al-Anon an opportunity to live and be happy. So, we're not going to chase around a protege, a person that we're sponsoring, if they can't or won't work with us, right? If I'm spending too much time, so I'm spending hours with you, right, talking about your problems or whatever it might be, that's denying someone else an opportunity to live and to be happy. Okay, so, I need to kind of, I heard it say in one of our meetings yesterday, I need to spread the wealth here. Spread the knowledge. Okay, so I can't be spending, 5 hours of my time over here and 30 seconds over here. Like, I've got to be as helpful and useful to as many people as I can, right? While not neglecting all my other, responsibilities, right? Page 97 says, never avoid these responsibilities, but be sure you are doing the right thing if you assume them. Helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act the Good Samaritan every day if need be. So it's not enough for me to just every once in a while, do something kind. Okay? I need to be kind and do a helpful act every day. I find that I need to do personally something useful and helpful every day, whether it's reaching out to a newcomer, whether it's helping the people that I sponsor, whether it's, being useful and helpful at work. But I do find that I need to do something that's, for my Al-Anon program. I'm also in another 12-step program, my other 12-step program, every single day, right? If needed, okay? But for the most time, it is needed because, my selfishness is pretty strong-willed, and it's going to come through if I'm not, doing something helpful for others, okay? I am almost out of time. Let me flip over here because I don't want to miss our 10-step promises. It says on page 84, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. Pretty cool. The problems just fall from us. That neutrality, we didn't even have to swear off. We don't have to make boundaries. Okay? It just comes. It's really, really beautiful. Okay. It has been my absolute pleasure, you guys, to do this for the past month. Okay? Appreciate you guys listening to me. It is that time to close out. Seventh tradition. Every group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. This group does not have a payment structure in place and currently requires no overhead expenses. If you'd like to fulfill Tradition 7, please direct contributions directly to the Al-Anon World Service Office by visiting al-anon.org. For questions about this meeting or if you are looking for a sponsor, please send emails to Al-Anon bigbookrecovery@gmail.com. Recordings can be accessed on YouTube by searching at Al-Anon Step Speaker in the YouTube search box. If you're interested in other Al-Anon meetings that follow the Big Book, please visit www.alanon-bigbook-solution-group.org. And I'm going to go ahead and read from our Big Book, page 164. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. You obviously cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and for countless others. This is a great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as we trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Now let's have a moment of silence from the Al-Anon who still suffers, followed by the Lord's Prayer or a prayer of your own choosing said in silence. Who loves us and keeps us sane. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.